esteemed Dr. She, dear Rebecca, or should I say, dear Chachu, because what is your name? Your friends and family in Taiwan know you as Chachu She, but here in the West, we know you as Rebecca She. So what is your true name? In your passport it says that your name is Chachu She. However, your passport also says that you're also known as Rebecca She. So not even your passport tells us clearly what your name is. And you can understand that the Beatles office was somewhat confused what name should appear on your bill. In the end, it was decided that both your first names would appear on your bill. So your official name is now Rebecca Chachu She. And I know it is according to your wishes. Okay, Rebecca. I remember the first time you had a meeting with us, with your promoters, your co-promoters, and on this meeting in 2007, you outlined your ideas about your Ph.D. project. I remember thinking at the time, wow, this is an ambitious program. It would be great if it would work, but can we really ask our Ph.D. candidate to describe for the first time the distribution and ecology of all epiphytes in Taiwan, to perform elaborate laboratory experiments, to do a several years long and logistically complicated field experiment, to develop sophisticated computer models of species distribution patterns and climate change, and to formulate epiphyte conservation measures. Moreover, during your Ph.D. research, you also wanted to keep your job as a research scientist at the Taiwan Forestry Research Institute. I was already beginning to feel sorry for your husband. However, you convinced us that it was doable and that your husband would be okay. In hindsight, you obviously were right, with this dissertation as a result, and your husband here as your proud witness. Of course, I also remember vividly the time Gerrit and I went to visit you to set up your field experiment. You were pleasantly surprised by the great hospitality you received from Taiwan Research Institute. Gerrit and I were given a very nice apartment in the center of Taipei to stay in, and for the field work, the Institute provided us with a company car, our own field team, including driver and a cook. We made a trip of several days to visit your research sites, and you had everything organized very, very well. So we really could relax. Well, relax. For some devilish reason, you also believed that this trip was a perfect opportunity to submerge us for 100% in the Taiwanese cuisine. Well, we started off slowly with all kinds of dumplings that were filled with undefined substances. Soon we particularly seemed to enjoy to make us try the weirdest foodstuffs you could find, like fried jellyfish and all kinds of other strange animals and their parts and organs. Of course, we did our best to comply, but when you made us try fermented black chicken eggs that had been buried for several months, we had to surrender. We clearly had one. In between these culinary feasts, you proudly showered your beautiful island and you impressed us with your botanical and ecological knowledge of not just the epiphytes, but also of the trees they grow. Together we set up our transfer experiment and we outplanted the first batch of corings. You were clearly very happy in the field, and I suspect that you will continue your career as a field biologist more than anything. However, with this thesis you have also shown that you are more than a gifted and enthusiastic field biologist. You have also done extensive and meticulous lab work, for which you learn to use all kinds of analytical laboratory equipment. In addition, you were not afraid to explore the latest computer models available to analyze your data. Multivariate data analysis, climate models, Mach-Sense species distribution models, mid-domain models are just some of the tools to familiarize yourself with. During most of the time you were of your Ph.D. research, you were in Taiwan. But I have to say that we never felt that a large physical distance was much of a problem. You provided us with regular updates, and if we had a specific question, we always got a very, very rapid email reply. In your hasty reply, sometimes it took some time to figure out what exactly you were trying to tell us, but we always worked it out. So it seemed that in reality, you were never that far away. All in all, you have produced a commendable thesis, which I'm sure will become of large reading for any student of canopy biology in Taiwan. The first two chapters are largely descriptive. For the first time, we provide a detailed description of the epiphytes and their distribution in Taiwan. We show that the epiphyte flora in Taiwan contains many endemic species and is therefore truly unique. Maybe one of the most interesting results is that highland species show more thermal specialization than lowland species and are therefore especially vulnerable to climate change. I'm sure that your peers will pick up on this interesting result. The next two chapters are based on interesting laboratory experiments on the use of carbon by two epiphyte species under varying microclimatic conditions. The following chapter gives the result of a transplant field experiment with sporings. The highland populations seem best adapted to the conditions at these altitudes, and you point out that such interpopulation differences should be considered in future species distribution models on the response of epiphytes and species in general to climate change. In the final chapter, you present such a model, tailored for epiphytes. Even though you have not yet considered population differences in this model, you have included the response of the forest as a predictive variable for the epiphytes. This hierarchical approach seems logical for species such as epiphytes that depend on other species, but was nevertheless never done in any study before. This shows your capacity for thinking out of the box. In the summary of your thesis, you wrote that you were inspired for this research by the El Nino event in 1998, which caused a dramatic decline of epiphyte vegetation in Taiwan. In your thesis, you have defined areas and species that are especially vulnerable to climate change, and your hope is that your research will contribute to the conservation of epiphytes. Also, in behalf of the other promoter and the co-promoters, I wish you all the best with your scientific career and all the best with your quest to conserve your beautiful life. Value the obtained dignity as an honor and privilege, and never forget the responsibilities which, as a result, you now have towards science and society.
Dear Doctor, I have the pleasant duty to